Today I'd like to talk about the SMARTboard. In Module 2, we're looking at hardware, input devices, and output devices, and how they might be useful in the classroom. The SMARTboard is a device that is both an input and output device because input comes from touch. I can touch it and control a computer with it. Output would be the projector display that you see on the screen. Now let me give you a little background about the SMARTboard. I chose this as an important tool to look at because I see that a lot of school districts are purchasing them, but don't tend to give a lot of training with them to go along with it. They just expect teachers to use them. Now, teachers will use maybe the basic whiteboard features, but they're not always familiar with some of the things that it can do, especially the interactive stuff. And so that's what I wanted to demonstrate for you here today. Now, I realize this is an online course and you're probably not going to be able to get the full functionality of the SMARTboard without actually coming and taking a look and playing with it. So I wanted to offer, since the GSC has 3 SMARTboards, that you could email me and come by anytime to try it out. I'll help you with it. You can touch it, play with it, pick up the markers, use it, and everything like that. And I think it's kind of a valuable thing to have some experience with, especially if you're looking for a new teaching job. Basically the way it works is it's a touchscreen device. When you press on it and you press in, it makes an electrical connection that shows the position of the mouse with your finger. There's a second type of SMARTboard, which is the one that I'm showing you here, that actually uses a camera-based system. So there's 4 cameras, one in each corner of the board. And with the 4 cameras, it can see the position of your finger or a marker, and then show where the mouse function will go. So the SMARTboard is essentially what's called an electronic whiteboard. It's meant to replace your traditional chalkboard or traditional whiteboard electronically. So why does that make this device better than what a whiteboard would be? Well, first of all, I can save everything in electronic notes. Okay, so your whiteboard can be saved and reviewed later. In addition, I have full control over a Windows or Mac PC. Right from the board. And finally, you can create all those interactive activities using the tool. So now that you sort of understand how it works, that it's a touchscreen device, input and output device, let me just show you what happens when I use this board. Okay? Keyboard and mouse functions. If I touch it, I can move the mouse. I can click on things. I can open applications with a double tap, just like if I was using a computer. So that's really handy by itself, just because when you have a computer on a projector, controlling it can be an issue. Now, if we're going to replace a whiteboard or a chalkboard, we need a way to write on that thing. And so I have a pen tray, and the pen tray has markers which I can pick up and write with. So here, I wrote my name. If you just write on the desktop, a sticky note comes up and allows you to write there. The markers can be have their colors changed with the pen tray. Underneath, I changed to green. Okay. There's also an eraser. The eraser has multiple functionality. So, for example, if I just write the letter B here, I could erase it like this, or I can circle it and tap it. And that wouldn't be so useful for just a letter B. However, it would be useful in the case where I had a lot of stuff written and I wanted to erase it all quickly. In addition to the markers for writing with the Smart Ink, there's a Smart Ink app here which allows me to change the functionality of my finger. Right now my finger acts as a mouse, but with this, when it sees my finger, I could change that to, let's say, a highlighter, for example. So now I can highlight items. And if I pick up the marker, I can still write right on the note while my finger remains a highlighter. And so there's a bunch of options here, what I can do with my finger, make an eraser, change the color, or I can simply just go back to a mouse functionality with that. In addition to being able to just write on the desktop like that with sticky notes, I can also use applications. So for example, if I want to use a web browser, Google Chrome here, if I pick up the marker, I can circle things. I have the same Smart Ink application, which lets me use a highlighter. So I can highlight things. And I can use the same eraser functionality to eliminate all the things that I put up or parts of what I put up. Now, maybe here I'll just change my highlighter to a green highlighter, and I'll highlight this grant funding that just happened here. So I have that highlighted. Now, this is where the smartboard replaces your whiteboard, right? In the past, you know, if you're showing something on a projector, a website, you could point at it, you couldn't save it, you couldn't save those notes that you write on there. You know, look here, right? A chalkboard is not going to show you a website. And so what the smartboard does is it allows us to mark up a website, talk about it, save it as an application. So if I go here, I can click capture. It's going to capture it to this Smart Notebook application. And the Smart Notebook application will then allow me to save that. I can save this thing as a PDF file, as a JPEG file. Then I can publish it to a school website, a blog, whatever. So here, export as PDF, and I can go ahead and save that thing. So that's the basic introduction to the smartboard, what it can do on a basic function. In addition to websites, I can also mark up things like PowerPoint, Word, whatever. Any application you can mark up and write on, use this as a whiteboard. Now, you're going to ask, well, maybe I don't want an application, maybe I just want a blank sheet. Well, you could use the Smart Notebook software that's here, right? If I go to File, New, I get a blank whiteboard. I can go ahead and write on that just like a chalkboard and save to pictures, notes, and everything like that. So that completes the first section of the smartboard video. Next, I'm going to show you the Smart Notebook application. Okay, next up we have the Smart Notebook tool. Wanted to show you the Notebook tool because it's the core of the smartboard. It's the software that you use to really replicate the whiteboard. So let me show you everything that it can do. As I mentioned before, you can use this as a regular whiteboard. So again, I'll just write my name. Okay, and as a whiteboard, right, I'm going to be writing on this, and you know what happens at the end when you're writing on a whiteboard, you erase everything and you continue on, right? You can't save your notes. This is an unlimited whiteboard, so if I scroll down, I can just continue to extend the page. So let me show you. I'll just keep putting these here. Scroll down. If I hit extend the page, it saves all of it. So now you have an unlimited whiteboard, something that you never could have before. If a student missed some notes, they wouldn't be able to save all these things. Now saving this, if I go to the File menu, just like most applications on the computer, I have an export function. I can export this to a PDF, to a web page, to an image file, even to PowerPoint. And this way I can save all those notes and my students can save them. And they can concentrate on what I'm doing up here rather than worrying about what they're putting in the notes. Okay, so now that I showed you that, let me show you how this, that replicates that functionality of that chalkboard or whiteboard. But let me show you what else this thing can do. So, for example, let's come over here, switch back to the mouse function. I can select objects, okay, and this will recognize text. Right? So imagine all your notes that you write on your chalkboard, whiteboard can now be turned into editable text. Not only can you edit it, but you can search it for specific keywords or anything like that. You can copy and paste this into any other kind of document as full text. So that's really useful for organizing and studying the notes from the whiteboard there. Let me show you some of the different functions along the side here. Okay? The notebook software actually allows you to connect to various different lesson plans and pictures, multimedia, and stuff that people have shared. There's over 6,700 items here available to me, and it searches online for them. So you can download them and add them. For example, if I'm going to go into the pictures here, I have half an orange. And drag that in here, right? And I can search. Okay? So as I said, this isn't just a mouse function as an input device. I can also bring up a keyboard. Okay? And if I wanted to search for something here, let's say a bus, I could do that. Picture of a bus. There it is. Okay? So this makes your lessons more visual, right? Because I can find pictures, I can find multimedia, I can add them to my Smart Notebook. Let me create a new notebook file here. So in addition to those functions, there's a bunch of additional features here. First of all, let's add a note here. I can move forward and have a next page rather than extending my page. I can move back to the pages that were there before. So if you're teaching a lesson, right, and you erase your chalkboard, it's gone, right? This way I can go back. Somebody says, can you tell me how you did that thing back 2 slides ago? You can do that. So it almost works like PowerPoint in a way that I write and I have slides that I can move through. I can also change this to a full screen, right? So now I really have, I don't have all these toolbars and stuff all over the place. That really looks like it's just a regular whiteboard. I can use this tool here to capture pieces of it, right? So if I click that, I can just take a picture of part of the screen. Here I can choose the size and shape of what I'm taking a picture of. And you hear when it takes that picture, it makes a little camera noise so you know that you've taken the picture. Let's see, what else? There is also a screen shade. So if I have some content on my page and I want to cover it up, I can do that with the shade, and I can bring the shade down. Just like when we had the overhead projector and we had transparencies. There's a table function. So I put some table cells in, so if I wanted to organize my information when I save it, I could do so. There are different mathematical tools. And so, for example, a protractor I could put in. I can move this protractor. There's a ruler. So, lots of different mathematical tools here. This link here, this is a Smart Exchange link. And so Smart Exchange is where other teachers have uploaded their own lessons and things that they've done in Smart Notebook to the Smart Tech website. And so then you could download them and share along. Let me get a new blank page here. Now here, let me show you the different functions of the marker. Okay, marker here, right? As I said before, I can write my name. I can change the color. Okay. However, if I want to use different types of markers, there's all sorts of different ones. Here's a calligraphic pen. And I can use my finger even to use that. There is crayon. Change the color. There is highlighter. There is a creative pen. You can make all these fancy things, smileys. There is the magic pen. And I can change the colors and do all that sorts of stuff with it. Dotted lines. Even arrows, for example. So, has a bunch of shapes that I could put in place. Let me get a new window here. There's a square, circle, right? So, a lot of different stuff you can do. Fill color. A lot of different stuff you can do. Obviously, this makes using the chalkboard, the whiteboard, a lot simpler, a lot easier, but gives us more options to do so with, and then we can save it. And that's the main thing, that you can save all your notes that you're teaching up there. You don't have to use all this fancy extra stuff, but you can do that. Just going through the menus here. Again, export. Lots of choices, PowerPoint, PDF, image files to a web page. Edit menu here. Pretty much what you would expect, copy, cut, paste, spell check. But I can clear the page and reset the page here too. View menu lets me bring up some of those other options that are up here as well. I can do the full screen from here. I can even make the background transparent. Insert menu. Here I can bring in pictures, video files from Flash. Even if I have a document camera connected, I can use that. Format menu lets me change fonts and things like that when I change to editable text. And draw menu includes all those shapes and different pens that I showed you a moment ago. So that's a quick overview of the Smart Notebook software. In this next piece, I'd like to show you some of the extra tools and things that you can use outside of notebook software to make the SMARTboard a better tool to use than just your traditional whiteboard. And so the toolbar is up on the right-hand side here. Right here I can change the color of pens that I use, right? And not only that, but this pen allows me to write with my finger when I use it. Here's a highlighter. You always have to go back to the mouse function in order to use it as a mouse from that point. There's a right-click mouse here. There's a quick shortcut to the notebook software. There's the animated keyboard. There's a screen shade. Now, I mentioned this in the notebook software before. The screen shade actually lets me bring part of the screen down so I can show just a little bit at a time. Whatever is underneath, just a little bit at a time. So if I have Google Chrome up, for example, I want to show off a website, but I don't want to show everything on the site right away. I can use the screen shade. I can also bring it left to right. And this works. The reason I use this is because it's just like a transparency. Teacher moved the paper over the transparency to show just the points that they wanted to show. There's also a spotlight tool. So I can highlight, show different things on the screen with a spotlight, point them out. I would say that's a little less useful than the screen shade itself, but it's pretty neat. Here is a capture camera. Okay, so for example, if I'm using an application such as a web browser, I can use the capture toolbar to capture just the parts of the screen I want to capture. So for example, maybe I want the Rutgers logo here. Takes a picture of that, sends it to Notebook. And then with Notebook from there we could save it to an image file, PDF, so on and so forth. We could also do a freehand capture. So it's zoomed in quite a bit, but you get the idea. This tool is really neat. It is a smart recorder. Up under the screen here. Now, what this does is it creates a screencast. A screencast is basically a video of the computer screen along with accompanying audio. The audio could be a microphone that the instructor is wearing so that when they're giving a lecture, they can record the lecture and the video of what's going on the screen. Now, I find this, of all the tools, probably the most helpful. Personally, I remember math class taking notes, writing down every note word for word, and getting home, and I never understood how I got from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, because the notes on the board showed step 1, step 2, step 3, but the explanation is what took you from step 1 to step 2. So the fact that this smartboard can record the audio accompanied to the video that's shown means that I can play back these things and have notes along with the entire class lecture available. And then you can, with this, you can upload, say to YouTube or anywhere that makes sense where video could go, and that would enhance your math lecture there. So I'll just give you an example here when the notebook comes up. Before you start, you just want to hit the big red record button. Once you're recording, everything that's said and written is recorded in real time. So I'll do 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now, if I stop my recording, it will go ahead and ask me to save this. Maybe I'll save it as a Windows Media file. Once it's done, I can close it or I can play the recording back. So here you see Windows Media Player shows the live video I created. You don't hear the audio right now because I'm not wearing a microphone, but it's fully audio capable. The last thing I wanted to show you in the SMARTboard tools is the orientation tool. Now, the SMARTboard, as I said, it knows where your finger is on the board based on touch or based on the cameras. So, in order for this to orient where your finger sits on the screen with where the mouse is, it has to calibrate that. Anytime the projector moves or the screen moves, the calibration gets put off. And so, a lot of times you have SMARTboards in classrooms that are on carts that they roll them from class to class. You'll have to orient them every time. This is how you orient them. You just open that tool and you press right in the center of the target. When you do that 4 times, your SMARTboard is oriented and it's ready for use, no matter how it's been moved around. So that's it for the SMARTboard toolbar. The SMARTboard doesn't just replace the traditional chalkboard and whiteboard. It also includes, because of the touch, interactive tools that you can use to enhance your lessons. It's similar to PowerPoint, but it's touch, and it allows you to do games and activities where kids can come up and use it. So let me show you. When I began, I created a slide with a forward arrow so I could just start the presentation. Next, I made some note slides. This allows me to pull my notes down. Now, this may not be that much different from PowerPoint, where you can have transitions where the text comes into play. However, it's nice that it's touch because it's more interactive. Kids watch, and they can come up and play with this stuff. Now, the Smart Notebook software in full screen operates very much like PowerPoint. Notice it takes up the full screen, and I can even move forward and backward. Here's a pull-out slide. So again, not much different than PowerPoint in the sense that I can show one point at a time. However, the touch feature is nice. Here is a true-false quiz. And you can pull the answers down. Next, I wanted to show you a lesson that was provided by the Smart Technology group. And this one is on King Tut. Here's the lesson plan, and here's a matching game. With this, I can say whether or not the treasures were found or not found. And I can check for the answers. Go back. This one is basically just a touch application. You can see the treasures come out of the sarcophagus. Another type of true-false quiz. Buttons change color and represent the item clicked. And I can solve this one by clicking solve at the bottom, and it shows you the answers. So these are some different interactive ways that you can press buttons and do things on what used to be a simple PowerPoint presentation, but now becomes touch and interactive. Now, you don't have to just use the Smart Notebook software to have interactive games for your kids to use. There's a lot of websites out there that do the same thing. Here's a primary school counting game.
How many fish?
This game wasn't designed for the SMARTboard, but it's something that a kid could sit at a computer with and click on. However, on the SMARTboard, I think it makes it more unique.
4. How many fish? 9. How many fish? Let's count. 1. How many fish?
This next one is a state matching game. So this is something for older kids, but can help you
Yes.
determine where the states go.
1.
Got one more. So between the notebook software, where you can create your own activities, and the thousands upon thousands of websites that are touch and interactive or support it, you can do a lot with the SMARTboard to engage your students. As I showed you before, I had those interactives where I could interact with my presentation. Maybe have a pull-out answer like I have here. Let me show you how I create one of those. First thing I need was that arrow. So in order to create an arrow, I'll just go to the shapes. And there is an arrow right here. So I put my arrow up. The arrow is pointing the wrong way, so the first thing I'll do is go ahead and take the arrow and turn it in the right direction. And then if I want to put some text inside of the arrow, just put a text box here, bring up a keyboard, and I can say pull. I'll line that. Okay, so to pull this, I want it to come out with an answer, so I need to add a text box for the answer as well. So I put a text box there, I bring my keyboard back up, I type answer. Close that. Now, in order for these things to be put together, if I click on this one here, the answer is not connected to the arrow. So the trick is that you use your mouse and just select everything, like that, and then you simply group them. There's an option called grouping. Hit it. Okay, missed it. Group them. Okay, you hit it and it becomes one object. Okay, and then what I can do with this is I can just push it off the screen like that. And now the arrow is there so I can pull it out. So let me see what this looks like in presentation mode. Alright, so here's my presentation. I want to pull this out, and I get the answer. The next item I'd like to show you is those true-false flip tiles that we looked at in the presentation from before. So the flip tiles are actually a built-in object in the SMARTboard software. In order to find them, I just go up here and I search for them. So I'll bring up my keyboard, I'll search for a flip. Alright, press the search button there, and here's a question flipper. Bring it out. You click on it to flip between. The double arrows at the top allow me to edit it. Bring back up my keyboard, and here's the front of the tile. I'll make this a true-false, so I'll type true. Okay, and then I'll move to the back, select it, and this is going to be the false side. So you could put this tile next to a question, and then they can come up and press whether it's true or false. Done with the keyboard, press OK, and I'll just flip this back around. And when you view this full screen, there, I have a tile, makes a sound when it flips, true, false. You can do all kinds of stuff with these tiles, put information on front and back and have them flip over, whatever you want. But to know that you can do it, that's very easy to do, and it comes with the software. There's tons of these interactives in Smart Notebook software. The next thing I want to show you is how to use a magnifying glass to do a reveal. So basically what I want to do is take an object, put it on the screen, and then use a magnifying glass to hover over the object and reveal what the name of the object is. First thing I want to do is pick an object. Let's say a car. We know there's a ton of pictures in the Smart Notebook software, so I will look for car. And there's a nice red car here, so I will put it up. Next thing I need to do is put the text in that I want to reveal. So let me search, or let me type the text in here. Put a text box in and bring up my keyboard. C-A-R, car. Now I'll select that text and I want to make it the same color as the car so that it's hidden when I put it on the car. Turn it red. So now, if I move the text on the car, you can't see it because it matches. Now we want to bring the magnifying glass in so that we can reveal the name of the car. So I need to find myself a magnifying glass. So I'll just search here for magnify. And here's a magnifying glass. I'll bring it in to the presentation. Now, next thing I want to do is check the order of these things. The trick here is that if the car is in the back and the text is in the front and the magnifying glass slides in between them, it will show the word car inside of it. So first we want to check the car. We want to check the order. It's already in the back. We know the text is right here on the door, so maybe I want to check the order on that. I'll bring it to the front. Last thing I want to do is check the magnifying glass. Does it go? Oh, it does. So the text car is above the magnifying glass and the car itself is below it. So when I move the magnifying glass over it, it reveals the name of the object. And you can do this type of activity with any objects that you want as long as the colors match. Next thing I'd like to show you is an image reveal. So this is where we take two images and we use a table cell to be able to look through an image and see what's behind. I think it's best if I just show you rather than explain. So let me start. First of all, you need a background image, the image that you want to look through. So I'm going to just insert a picture file. In this example, I'm going to do some ocean water. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually look through the ocean water to see underneath what's swimming below. Once I have the background in, I want to lock this down. The reason for this is when I move my mouse, I don't want the ocean water to move around. I want it to stay in place. So you use the locking function in the upper right hand corner there. Next thing I need to do is add a table cell. So I'll insert a table here, and the table cell just needs to be one row and one column, basically just a box. A little big, so make this smaller, pull the corner in. Basically what this is a window to what we're seeing under the sea. Next thing I need to do here is add the background. So I hit Properties, and I'm going to go to Fill Effects. I'll make an image fill, and I'll put sea turtles that are swimming underneath. So here is a table with the background image of the table, the sea turtles that are underneath. And if I move it around, I can see the different turtles. Last thing I want to do is add sound to this. So I click the Properties, hit Sound. I have some ocean water here. I'll insert it. And I want it to be when I click the object, so I click that, I attach the sound, and it's ready for presentation. So I'll just do a view, full screen, close this extra window here, and you can see how it works. See, I can see under the ocean, see the turtle. When I click it, you hear the water. And that's it. That's how you can use table cells to look through an image.